Hello, my dear yogi friend. I'm Tammy Wendell of Bunnydog Yoga, and I'm so glad you're joining me for this short video on how to protect your wrists when they are in contact with the ground in poses like table, plank, and down dog. It's common that at some point your wrists may become troublesome, whether you're a beginner or an experienced yogi. The wrist is an amazing part of the human body whose main job is to gather and bring items towards the body. It's comprised of 8 oddly shaped bones situated in roughly 2 rows between the palm of the hand and the forearm. But you probably already knew that. In a neutral position, the hand extends from the arm and energy flows freely through the wrists. But in a flexed position, or an extended position, the energy can get blocked and pain can occur. These blockages can be from previous injuries that produce scar tissue, swelling or damage of the nerves as they pass under the ligament that's a band in the wrist, or one bone can bind against another, or maybe some repeated motion syndrome just wears the tissue out. Let me offer some adjustments in your wrist position that may provide you with some relief for your yoga practice. First, let's look at where and how you position your hands on the mat. I often encourage students to put their hands directly under the shoulder in table pose with the middle finger pointing towards the top of the mat. If that doesn't work for you, adjust the hand so the pointer finger is pointing towards the top of the mat. Or maybe even rotating the fingers all the way out so the thumb is pointing to the top. Also, experiment with having the hands a little wider or maybe a little more in front of the shoulders. A comfortable wrist position can change from table to down dog to plank. So don't think of this as positioning as universal for all poses. Remember, there are no absolutes in yoga. I speak about having good alignment in a pose, but that's only for the anatomically correct body. And who has one of those? Certainly not me. Another option is to have the fingers in a more closed position. Do this little experiment with me. Bring one hand up and let the palm face you. Take the other hand and wrap the fingers around that wrist. Now spread your fingers really, really wide. Did you feel the engagement of the wrist? Now bring the fingers close together. Did you feel a loosening of the wrist? Sometimes going between fingers spread wide and having mitten hands in these 3 poses can feel a little different. What works for you? Another option is to put the hands on blocks in these poses, because using blocks can slightly change the angle of the wrist from a direct 90 degree to a little more of an angle of 110 or 120 degrees. If you take this option, please only use the flat side of the block, not the middle and not the highest setting. If your blocks are a dense foam, the little bit of squishy can help cushion the wrists, especially if your discomfort is on the palm side. You can also take the block and turning the hands out and grip the block. Not having the hand in a flattened position can change the comfort of the hand. This creates muscular engagement, and it can take the pressure away from just dumping all of your weight into the hands. A little bit of elevation to the hands changes the angle of the wrist and can reduce discomfort. Using a folded blanket or a second yoga mat can also change the slope of the whole hand and potentially offer some relief. In this position, we are just elevating the heel of the hand. Here are 2 other options you may find. They're not really favorites of mine, but maybe they'll work for you. Using squared off dumbbells allows you to grip something smaller and keeps the wrist straighter. I'm not a fan of this because you have to move the dumbbells on and off the mat during a flow class. Another not so favorite option of mine is using just your fist on the mat. Again, this does keep the wrist straight, but I think it puts a troublesome amount of weight on the tiny bones of the hand, and we certainly don't want to trade one problem for another. Not to mention digging the nails into the palms can hurt. I hope you find one of these options helpful to you and can use it in your practice. More than likely, the stronger we make this delicate little joint with more yoga classes, the more relief you'll have. Come join me on the mat for a class. I look forward to seeing you. My schedule's on my website. Hope to see you soon.